This is a very impressive flashlight. It's extremely bright with almost 20,000 lumens and 360,000 candela, yet is compact and super efficient, and looks like something designed by NASA. In fact, the Manker MK38 satellite gets its name from a white micro-arc oxidation, a thick chalky finish used in the aerospace industry. This is a great light for extended, high-output usage, with multiple variations available for different use cases. However, at a price of $380, this is a pretty serious flashlight, and as impressive as it may be, there are definitely still some improvements to be made. The MK38 is very well built and high quality. The head features a beautiful, solid aluminum reflector which focuses the light from 8 powerful emitters, in this case Luminus SFT40 LEDs, which are protected by a large piece of AR-coated mineral crystal glass. The entire aluminum body of the light features a thick micro-arc oxidizing, which has a durable, grayish-white matte texture that feels great in the hand and looks awesome, but it will get dirty pretty easily. There are also darker gray and traditional black anodized versions available. The light is basically a standard compact pop can style design. A large stainless steel button on the head allows for control and features a battery indicator LED. A detachable carrying handle features water-sealed electrical connection pins that allow for operating the light with 2 buttons. The light feels good in the hand without the handle and is fully functional, but as you'll miss the act of cooling, I would not recommend running it this way. The handle possesses 2 centrifugal cooling fans that blow air through the fins on the light's head, and it physically isolates your hand from the heat. Unfortunately, it's not very well balanced, and isn't particularly comfortable to use as a result, while also having a slightly loose connection with some wobble. The 8 SFT40s receive power from a sophisticated buck driver, which takes the 10 volts from the batteries and drops it to the 3 volts required by these LEDs, a very efficient process that reduces heat and results in great stability. A buck driver capable of this much output is quite expensive and takes more effort to design than the linear drivers we usually see in super bright lights. The MK38 is also available with domed Cree XHP0.2 LEDs, which produce a much floodier beam and about twice the output. There is also a variation with XHP50.3 high-intensity LEDs, which are closer to the throwy SFT40 version. Manker boldly claims this light will produce 20,000 lumens of output, and, according to my tests, that fancy driver does manage to pump out 17,000 lumens on turbo, at startup with their fresh charge. This is extremely bright and incredible to use at night. Output naturally drops as battery voltage sags and the light heats up, but the MK38 manages to sustain over 12,000 lumens for about 2.5 minutes before thermal regulation kicks in, which is very impressive. Unfortunately, the active temperature control implementation is strange, and the result I got on my test was a big drop-off after startup, with the light plummeting to just 2,000 lumens after 3 minutes, then a gradual rise up to about 7,000 before the battery died at 50 minutes. This is a rather unpleasant and somewhat impractical pattern. I am disappointed to see this in such an expensive light. However, other tests I have seen indicate results are very dependent on conditions, so this isn't necessarily what will happen in real usage. The lower modes are much better regulated, with high gradually sloping down and leveling off, and the lower modes are completely flat for the whole run. Sustained outputs are very good, with high maintaining over 7,000 lumens, and medium 3 sustaining over 4,000. Runtimes and sustain levels are of course dependent on environmental conditions, but in my tests, high mode only ran for 30 minutes before dying out, which is pretty solid, but is also a far cry from the manufacturer's claimed 2 hours and 15 minutes at 10,000 lumens. At the end of the day, I think this light would really have benefited from a slightly larger 4-cell battery pack that would have allowed for longer runtimes. In addition to being super bright, the Luminus SFT40s produce a tight, punchy hotspot and a wide, bright spill that simultaneously reaches far into the darkness while lighting up a large area. It is an excellent beam for a high-power, serious use light, which in my opinion makes this the best option for the MK38. Sadly, this beam isn't very pretty, being very cool white, low CRI, and somewhat greenish. The smooth, overlapping reflectors cause a lot of artifacts, and there's a very noticeable dark ring around the hotspot. So this is definitely focused just on performance. All versions are available with a textured reflector instead, which helps clean up the beam but reduces throw a bit. The Cree XHP0.2s are much brighter, with a claimed 40,000 lumens on turbo. These emitters are still not the prettiest, but the floody beam is cleaner, and the neutral white version is much more pleasant. Personally, I think this SFT40 model is functionally superior, as its greater intensity and lower heat allows for more usability at sustained levels, and the spill is plenty floody as is. I also think there are better, more competitive options for super floodlights, such as the AceBeam X75. Finally, the XHP50.3 high intensity has a very similar beam to the SFT40, being both brighter and floodier. It's also a very compelling option for practical usage, with a great, balanced performance and a claimed 30,000 lumens, with plenty of throw. I don't have this version, but I do think it would compare very well to the SFT40 light. It's really just a matter of preference. The MK38 is powered by 3 high-drain 21700 lithium-ion cells in series. It is available with either an integrated battery pack or a tube with user-replaceable cells. It's really great that Manker provides this option, which most enthusiasts will probably prefer, but I do not recommend this version unless you really understand lithium-ion battery safety in high-drain applications. The battery pack version features quality-matched cells and a balanced charging system. It charges via a waterproof USB-C port with an additional cover, and can act as a power bank with USB-C power delivery. Unfortunately, the pack is not removable, which limits the lifespan of the light and means you cannot carry a spare to swap out when it runs low. The user interface here is okay. A press of the button turns the light on and off, a double press activates turbo, and pressing and holding from off activates the lower mode group. In either mode group, pressing and holding ramps through the modes, first up and then down when released and held again. The light always remembers and ramps opposite to the previous direction, which is annoying as it just ends up being unpredictable, since the light remembers this basically indefinitely, much longer than I do when using it. I think there are too many discrete modes here. A smooth ramp would have made more sense, and I really would prefer that it just always reset to ramping up if left alone for a minute or two. The button on the body and lower handle do the same thing. The upper handle button simply turns the fans on and off with a single press. The fans are only activated this way, and always turn off with the light. A strange and annoying decision, since the light is still hot after it's been turned off after usage. It would be much better if they reacted to the actual temperature of the light, but at least the output is actively modulated, so there shouldn't be any danger of overheating here. The Manker MK38 is a very well-made, high-performance flashlight that I am happy to use and recommend for high-powered and long-running outdoor illumination needs. The biggest issue for me is the lack of a replaceable battery pack, which I would count as a deal breaker, but the version with replaceable cells somewhat negates that. Still, in a future version I would like to see an easily removable battery pack, an improved interface, and better fan control. This exact version of the MK38 comes in at $380, which is quite expensive, but fairly justified for the quality you're getting. However, as much as I love this light, the newer and more powerful AceBeam X75 comes in at the same price point and offers superior performance. So if size doesn't matter as much, you should look towards that instead. Personally, I think this SFT40 model is still worth considering, as it offers more sustainable throw and is meaningfully smaller. So it's a light I can recommend if you need and can afford it. Well, that's all for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. This light was sent to me free of charge for review, but I was not otherwise paid for the video. It's coming out rather late, as usual, and most of the hype around this light has died out by now, and there are more competitive options now, but I do really think it's a great light, and I find it a joy to use. It's personally my favorite high-power flashlight I own. It's still something worth considering if you're in the market for a super flashlight like this. If you enjoyed this video, I plan to review some more super powerful lights in the coming months, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video.